I wanted to show you these. I bought the 3-pack, and I've been meaning to get them for a long time. This is Volume 1, and I kind of like the cover because it's got the pissed off nerd, and he's like cursing, and you got the monsters from Space Invaders. One thing that pissed me off about this is that even though this is brand new, and it only come in the mail yesterday, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but already the plastic is kind of fucked up here. It doesn't really matter, but it pisses me off because it's brand new. This one has all the episodes from 2006. Everything from Simon's Quest up to Bible games. And each disc has its own bonus features, which is kind of interesting, because in the next two, they would have only episodes on the discs, and then one third disc, all for bonus features. So that's pretty interesting. Here's Volume 2. I'm not too crazy about the cover. It's just James just standing there putting his finger in the air. He doesn't look particularly angry, and you got these ghosts from Ghostbusters floating around. This one has got 3 discs. Now, what's interesting is, even though on this one there's 2 discs, and here they're clearly labeled Disc 1 and Disc 2, for some reason, when you put them in your DVD player, they're called Volume 1 and Volume 2, and this is supposed to be Volume 1. So, he decided to play a joke related to that. In this, it's Volume 3.5, Volume B, and Volume Ass. Volume Ass has all the bonus features. This is everything from the Atari 5200 over to an Angry Nerd Christmas Carol. And this is Volume 3. This is the new one that just came out. I like the cover here. There's no like video game characters, just him with the NES accessories. And as you can see, this one actually has 3 discs also. And this one's kind of harder to read. It goes from the Zelda timeline up until Bible Games 2, and then there's a disc of bonus features. So lastly, I promised you guys a movie review, right? Well, I went to see Shutter Island yesterday, and I am absolutely not going to spoil anything because it has one of those twist endings that people love so much. I'm a big fan of really surprising endings in movies. As a matter of fact, if you look at some of my favorite movies, movies like American Beauty, Planet of the Apes, the original one, mind you, Fight Club, and Dark City, you know, a lot of these movies have one thing is in common. They have an ending that'll completely knock your socks off because it comes out of left field. Now, unfortunately, someone spoiled me on the ending to Shutter Island, but I don't really get too upset about spoilers, and I don't think it really ruins the movie experience too much. However, I do realize that a lot of people do get upset about spoilers, and it does ruin the whole movie for them. So I'm not going to say what the ending was, but I will say that if you read the book, the movie is pretty much the same thing, and that's how I got spoiled. Somebody was talking about the book. If you've read the book, the movie actually has a line near the end that's not in the book, which is actually a little bit surprising considering how closely it stuck to it, and then they added something at the end that kind of gave it a double twist and made it a little bit more ambiguous. And out of context, I don't think that the line would hurt anything, but it's an interesting line, and it's sort of the moral of the whole story of Shutter Island. Would you rather live as a monster or die as a good man? Now, personally, I think that we all know the answer to that. It's an easy choice. You'd rather die as a good person than live as a horrible monster, because what kind of existence is that? One thing about Shutter Island that I've talked to a lot of people, I've been recommending this movie heavily since I saw it yesterday to all my friends. And a lot of them ask me, well, what is it about? Because I can't tell from the trailer. The way my friend Joey put it, and I was very interested in recommending it to him because I know that he would really like it. He said, I don't even know what that movie's all about. All I can tell is that it's dark and Frank Sinatra is still popular. That's his sort of humor. Well, anyway, I can't really say too much of what it's about without spoiling it, but the basic premise is that these 2 federal marshals are called to Shutter Island. On Shutter Island, there's an asylum for the criminally insane, and one of the patients has escaped. From there, it goes into all sorts of conspiracy theories and weird nightmares, dreams, hallucinations, and a crazy twist ending that you won't believe when you see it. Unless, of course, somebody's already told you, or you've read the book. The acting is phenomenal, and I'm surprised to say that in a movie that's starring Leonardo DiCaprio, I'm actually not shocked. You know, he started out as this kind of pretty boy, sort of ridiculous actor that was just there to look good for teenage girls to giggle at. But since then, he's really matured into a decent actor, and you can actually sort of believe him as a tough guy now. He sort of shed that whole prissy, fancy pants image that he had back in the 90s. And, of course, when you're being directed by Martin Scorsese, you better be fucking good. Ben Kingsley is in it. Max von Sydow is in it, and he will eat your soul. That's an in-joke, by the way. There's a couple of other great actors that have minor roles, like Ted Levine and Jackie Earle Haley, but it's just kind of interesting to see such an amazing cast in actually a very good movie. I would definitely give it like a 9 out of 10 if I was doing a formal review. This isn't a formal review. This is just me spouting off what I thought about it a day later. If I was doing an actual, like, formal review, I would write a review and compile my thoughts and come up with reasons and do a little research even. But this is just kind of what I call a candid mini-review, just me talking about the movie the day after and giving you my impressions. I would definitely recommend it. However, one thing I want to warn against is that it can be disturbing. It takes place in the 50s, and this is shortly after World War II. World War II is still fresh in everybody's mind, and the main character, Teddy, he had been in World War II, and he had liberated a death camp, and he'd seen a lot of shit. And like I said, there's flashbacks and dreams and hallucinations galore, and so you're treated to a lot of death camp imagery. And if you find that very hard to deal with, you might want to skip this one, because it's very uncompromising, and it shows you exactly like what you would see in the newsreels at the time. It doesn't shy away from the horrors of the death camps at all, and it can be kind of disturbing. There's one part that's a flashback where a whole bunch of guards from the concentration camps are executed by American soldiers, and it's kind of morally ambiguous in a way, because it's like, it's not an act of war, it's an act of murder. But after seeing what these people seen, and knowing that they kind of snapped a little bit, seeing piles of body, including women and children, just heaped up and frozen to the ground, discarded as if they were never even really human at all, the horrors of World War II and the horrors of the Holocaust really hit you, and you really can't blame these soldiers for doing what they did. Of course, if that happened today in the Middle East, they would be crucified by the media. But I think that this movie is something that people should see who think that way, that soldiers, American soldiers in particular, are always supposed to be perfect and always in complete control of their emotions, because war is hell, and there's a lot of horrible things that you're going to see, and it does take an effect, a toll on the human mind. Our brains are not really designed to deal with such unmitigated horror. So that being said, if you're squeamish, I would not recommend seeing Shutter Island. However, if you're able to deal with it and not be, truly affected by it, if it's not going to give you nightmares, I do recommend the movie. It really is the first movie of 2010 that I can say is a really great film. And this is coming off of a year of really great films in 2009. I just saw so many movies that I really loved. A lot of it was like the nerdy kind of movies that you would expect me to see, like Star Trek and Watchmen and whatnot. But then there were these offbeat instant classics like District 9, and I also loved Sherlock Holmes a lot. So 2009 was a really cool year for movies, and I only saw one or two that I didn't like, and I only saw one that I hated. That was Punisher Warzone. But 2010, if this is the way we're starting off with movies like Shutter Island, I think we're off to a good start. So I just wanted to give my impressions on that. If I was doing a formal review of Shutter Island, I'd probably give it a 9 out of 10. Anyway, I got to wrap this up, and I'll see you real soon right after this. We got the music contest thing coming up, so keep an eye out for that. VMX out.